The park buzzed with the vibrant energy of Ellie Morris's 8th birthday celebration. Colorful balloons swayed in the gentle autumn breeze, mingling with the rustle of golden leaves. Laughter rang out as children played tag and parents exchanged cheerful chatter. The centerpiece of it all, Ellie, twirled in her new pink dress, the pink bow in her hair catching the sunlight as she giggled with her friends. Her mother, Julia, couldn't help but smile as she watched her little girl, her heart swelling with pride and love. But as the afternoon stretched on, shadows began to lengthen. The once warm sunlight shifted to a dimmer, cooler hue, and the laughter seemed to dull in comparison. When the cake was finally cut and the presents were unwrapped, Julia turned to look for Ellie, to thank her for making the day so perfect. Ellie was gone. At first, Julia's voice was steady as she called out her daughter's name, expecting Ellie to pop out from behind a tree, giggling mischievously. But as the minutes ticked by and the other parents joined the search, panic set in. Julia's cries grew frantic, her voice cracking under the weight of desperation. Her shriek, "Ellie!" pierced the air, freezing everyone in their tracks. The joy that had filled the park just moments ago evaporated, replaced by a chilling, all-consuming dread. It was the kind of horror that seeped into your bones and stayed there, a scar on the soul of Ravenshollow. Mira Winters stared at her phone, her editor's voice still buzzing in her head. "You've got to get this story, Mira. The Morris case could be the scoop of the decade." She clenched her jaw, her free hand running through her auburn hair as she tried to process the demand. Ravenshollow. The very name sent a shiver down her spine. It had been 15 years since she'd set foot in that cursed town, and she had vowed never to return. The pain of her sister Lisa's disappearance still haunted her, an open wound that time had only deepened. And yet, here she was, packing her bags and preparing to drive back into the heart of darkness. The road to Ravenshollow was as she remembered it, winding and flanked by towering trees that seemed to close in on you the further you drove. The forest felt alive, breathing, watching. By the time she reached the town, the sun had set, casting long shadows over the familiar streets. Myra's hands tightened on the steering wheel as memories threatened to overwhelm her. But she shoved them aside. This wasn't about her. This was about Ellie. The forest whispered secrets as Mira crouched beneath an ancient oak tree, her flashlight casting eerie shadows on the ground. She barely dared to breathe as the beam of light landed on a dirty, torn teddy bear. Her heart clenched. It was unmistakable. The bear was Ellie's, a chilling contrast to the cheerful pink bow she'd worn in the photo plastered all over the news. Mira picked up the teddy bear, her fingers trembling. "What do you know, little bear?" she whispered, her voice barely audible. The forest seemed to answer her with a gust of wind that sent shivers down her spine. Over the next few days, Mira became increasingly aware of a presence. A dark figure that lingered at the edges of her vision, always there but never fully seen. At first, she dismissed it as her imagination playing tricks on her, the stress of the case taking its toll. But by the third day, she was certain she wasn't imagining it. The figure was real and it was watching her. Mira sat at the old desk in the library, faded police records spread out before her. Names and dates blurred together as she sifted through them, her exhaustion threatening to consume her. And then she saw it. Lisa Winters, missing person 2009. Beside it, in bold red ink, the word "connected" was scrawled. Her breath caught in her throat as she stared at the photo of her sister and Ellie, side by side. The resemblance was uncanny. The same innocent eyes, the same bright smiles, the same fate. The question gnawed at her, an unrelenting ache in her chest. Mira slammed the file shut and stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Show yourself!" she shouted into the empty room, her voice echoing off the walls. She spun around, clutching a makeshift weapon, a heavy flashlight, in her trembling hands. From the shadows emerged an older man with haunted eyes. He held up his hands in a gesture of peace. "I've been waiting for you, Mira," he said, his voice gravelly and worn. "You're the only one who can save her." Myra's grip on the flashlight tightened, but she didn't lower it. "Who are you?" she demanded. The man reached into his coat and pulled out a weathered map, handing it to her. This will lead you to her. But be warned. The truth is darker than you can imagine. The mansion loomed before her like a specter, its silhouette stark against the stormy sky. Lightning flashed, illuminating the crumbling facade and the overgrown path leading to the front door. Mira's heart pounded as she pushed the door open, the creak echoing through the empty halls. Each step felt like a lifetime as she navigated the labyrinthine interior, her flashlight casting fleeting glimpses of the mansion's decay. And then she heard it, a faint whimper coming from behind a door at the end of the hall. "Ellie," Mira called out, her voice cracking. She rushed to the door, but before she could open it, a cold blade pressed against her neck. "You should have stayed away," the kidnapper snarled. Mira's blood ran cold as the man's confession spilled out, his words like poison. "Lisa was taken because of your father's sins, Mira. Ellie was just collateral." The weight of the revelation nearly crushed her, but Mira refused to give in. Summoning every ounce of courage, she fought back. The struggle was chaotic and desperate, but Mira managed to overpower the man, her determination fueled by her love for her sister and Ellie. She burst into the room and found Ellie, frightened but alive. Wrapping the girl in her arms, Mira whispered, "I've got you. You're safe now." As they fled the mansion, flames erupted behind them, consuming the building in a fiery inferno. The sky was filled with smoke, the fire's roar drowning out all other sounds. Mira held Ellie tightly, her tears mixing with the rain as they reached safety. In the aftermath, Mira felt a sense of closure she hadn't thought possible. She had faced her demons, unraveled the mystery of her sister's disappearance, and saved Ellie. Ravenshollow would never be free of its shadows, but for the first time in 15 years, Mira felt a glimmer of light. Kindly like, share, and subscribe for more. Comment on the comment section below from where you are watching from. Thank you.